Okay, we're live.
We are live, or what? The 1 minute?
1 minute.
Well, usually the countdown, or are we live?
We're live.
Now live. No, hey, we're live on the.
All right.
Let's see here. I don't know which camera. Are we on the main camera now? Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna go the other way.
Aha.
Actually, I don't know
Just
if
wanna
we'll be
see
able
where
to
this
get in
is
there.
showing.
though.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, Scott,
I see it right here.
I'm trying to find your live thing. Oh, there.
I just have a splash screen. That's all I can see.
There it is. Oh, okay. Now we're gonna get feedback.
Ooh.
Okay.
Turn your volumes off.
Yeah, turn your volume off.
Yeah, no joke.
Can you get rid of the splash screen?
Should have just done it. It should update in a second.
Yeah,
Oh.
it probably just takes a second.
Alright, okay. I just wanted to. Yeah, I can chat on the live stream.
Aha.
apparently.
Here we and then we can get in the comments and monitor and stuff.
Okay, we are horribly out of. Can you switch that camera?
Yeah,
please?
I did.
Oh shit.
Some-
No, we're still on
some-
that camera.
Give it a second.
Has some
Oh,
idiot talking
there we
on his
go.
phone here.
Awesome.
Everyone's on their phones.
Say,
Yeah, we're
hey,
all,
hey.
Hello.
we're all on our
We're
phones.
live.
We're all on our phones
In
trying
the
to
chat.
share it.
If you
We're-
guys,
yeah.
if
we're
you guys
all
want to
trying to-
chat with us, get in the chat.
All right, so sorry for the delay. We're not exactly set up the way we were hoping to be set up, but we're going to make do with what we can. And we're going to stream the album for you guys and talk about it in between the songs. While the song is playing, feel free to send us a question, comments on YouTube. Later on, we're going to do a draw for the free CD. And yeah, whenever Sean, the guy behind the camera who's helping us all out, whenever he's ready, we're going to start playing some tunes. But first, I'm going to introduce everybody. This is
As
Derek
we're sharing
Kroll.
stuff.
He's a drummer.
Hey, there's Clay.
We have Paul Levassier,
Something like that.
something
yeah.
like that. He is the piano and the cello guy and has done a little bit of acoustic guitar as well. Brilliant stuff. And we got the master on bass here, Aaron Bacon.
What's up?
Any relation to Kevin Bacon?
I do actually have a cousin, Kevin Bacon. Yes,
But not the Kevin Bacon.
if you ask him.
Awesome. Okay, well, the album is called Rusted to Perfection. It is something we've worked on for over 2 years. Everybody's got busy lives, so it kind of happens when everybody can devote some time to it. We can talk about it more after the first song. I think we're ready to go. Sean says we're ready to go. Let's turn on the first song. The song is
Thank
not damaged.
Yeah, I know.
All right, hey everybody. That's the first song off of our album. Hope you guys enjoyed that.
I didn't do anything for it.
He was not involved for that one.
No.
They
but
didn't
trust
ask
me,
me.
good things come to those who wait. And
Oh yes.
in about 3 years from now, when we're done listening to the whole album,
Yeah.
you get to know what I'm talking
It's
about.
like each one of these CDs has different tracks on it.
Yes, exactly. These are all different, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. We're just, as you can see, opening CDs and signing them because we had a bunch of pre-sale CDs, and part of the pre-sale deal was that you get an autographed CD. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. Hopefully, not for the rest of the entire evening, but as you can see, we got a pretty big stack here to go through.
Yeah, but we got a system down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say let's get the next song rolling, and we'll chat some more after that. This one is called "The Power Within."
Power
All right, welcome back.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, so that's the second song off the album called "The Power Within." I wrote that actually when I got a bass guitar. Came home and I was inspired and I wrote this riff, and then I built the whole song around that riff idea, which of course Aaron took and perfected it into something way more amazing. But I thought I would talk a little bit about how all four of us got together for this project. I actually know Derek from many, many years ago. Jammed at my place in 2008 at a house party, and he told me he wanted to do drums on if I ever did another album. And then fast forward 16 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, and it's finally happening.
Yeah.
He's in a couple of local bands, so he's a pretty busy guy. And in between that, being a single father on top of that, managed to lay down some pretty killer drums on this album. And it blew me away every time he'd send me a track that he's finished working on. Aaron Bacon, he's also in a local band called Dizzy Mystics. And I also know the guitar player Alex in that band. And I went to go see them play at the Park Theater. And that was the first time I ever saw Aaron play or ever even knew who he was. And when I saw them play, I'm like, man, I got to get this guy on my album.
Yeah, same thing for me. As soon as I saw a video of some of the improv videos that Scott makes, and you wanted to host, get your old improv nights going again. That's what it was. I was like, let me come to the improv night.
Yeah, I posted on Facebook about starting up like a monthly improv jam at my place where I would have like a revolving door of musicians would come and go, and would just be a whole lot of fun. And Aaron piped in and said, let's do this. And so this led to a conversation in private where I shared him a song that Derek had just laid drums to. It was probably the first song, Escaping Reality, which we're playing in a couple songs from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first song, and then I shared it with Aaron, and Aaron's like, this is cool, do you need a bass player? And like, I just kind of smiled to myself, and I'm like, yeah, I could use a bass player. So that's where Aaron got involved. And now Paul and I actually go back quite a ways as well. I sold him a guitar on Kijiji, and we then became Facebook friends and just proceeded to talk a lot about gear.
Mm-hmm.
And,
and more gear.
And more gear and more gear.
Nerding it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is around the time I was actually just getting back into playing electric guitar. I pretty much only played acoustic guitar for like 5 years. And
isn't that where 5x5 happened?
Yeah, with Renee.
Yeah, I wrote that on acoustic, and it was like I need an amp because I had no amp at this point, and I had narrowed it down to a Mesa Boogie and a KSR option, and then Paul goes like, "Well, have you heard of Rev amplification?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "No, I haven't." So, making a long story shorter, I eventually bought myself a Rev amp, and we have just been in friends now, and we talk about gear all the time. And I think you had mentioned at one point doing maybe something on my next album if I ever did a album.
Yeah.
Because I originally was going to do an all acoustic album.
Right.
Yeah, and getting back into electric, that kind of changed.
Mm-hmm.
And towards kind of about 3/4 of the way into the production, I bugged you. I said, "Do you still want to do some stuff on the album?" And so he worked on actually the very last song we're going to hear tonight. He did some amazing work on, and then so I figured. And then you got first you did the interlude.
Yeah. You wanted an intro.
I wanted an intro to the album originally, and then you heard this one song that I was going to ask you to put some piano to because I had programmed piano, and I thought I'd rather have someone who can really do it justice, do the part.
Yeah.
And so you'd listen to it, and you heard a melody line. You said, "Oh man, I got an idea for an interlude."
Yeah, it was so heavy. It's like if you're eating steak after steak after steak at dinner, which is
what we do as well.
This is what he does. This is what Scott does. But
This album is Scott's diet in musical form.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
A little bit of mushrooms on the side.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually, I was inspired, like if you listen to the band Periphery, they do a lot of this sort of orchestral or ambient interludes in their music. And it's a nice sort of palate cleanser. And there was a spot, I just thought, this album just needs this. And I started jamming on the piano. I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And one day you banged out this awesome piece. and it's
Yeah.
actually quite. You'll hear it. We'll get to it later, but it's quite refreshing when you're listening to the album in one sitting, because it's so much going on, and it's so kind of like dense, but yet melodic at the same time. Then also you get, like you said, this palette cleanser, this
Yes.
interlude, which is soft, and then that abruptly changes afterwards.
And it gets more heavy, which is
But
great.
we get heavy
Yeah,
section.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we should probably just play the next song,
Get to
which is
the-
actually the title track of the album,
Yeah.
Rusted
Good
to
one.
Perfection. And this is a song I wrote on my very first guitar,
Oh,
my Vantage. I didn't write it years ago, I wrote it now, but I wrote it
on the.
on that very first guitar,
There's
which
something
is...
special about that. Hey, it's like that thing where you had that first connection.
Yeah.
The first light bulb moments.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like me and the Tama Iron Cobras. Like those are the double pedals that I learned on. So and now it's like
Yeah.
coming home. I'm playing
Yeah.
them again,
yeah,
right?
it's
Awesome,
like coming
yeah.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
But never sell your first instrument.
No, I still,
Yeah.
I still have my
Keep it.
first.
Word
One
to the
instrument,
wise.
Don't sell it.
Even if it's
Yeah.
not worth much, keep it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. Are we back on
I was
air?
trying to get myself
All right, we're back.
situated too.
I say we're back like as if we went somewhere because
The audio's back.
we did.
The audio's back, so you can't hear Derek cussing like a sailor. I mean,
Oh well, I mean that's just in my nature. It's
Yeah.
really in my nature.
We originally had planned on having audio that we could
Yeah.
talk while the music was playing, and we had a bunch of
Yes.
technical difficulties that were not making that happen.
Yep.
So we found a fix at the last minute. We're just playing the music straight from the laptop that's actually
Mhm.
doing the streaming. But unfortunately, we cannot have the microphone on while the music is playing, which is actually now not a bad thing because it lets you guys listen to it uninterrupted. And allows us to have chat while we're in between
Yeah. Signing all these CDs.
figuring out what we're going to say to you in the next break.
Yeah, that
But
too.
I think I should probably respond to some of the comments that we've got
Yeah,
here.
that's
because
what we can start doing.
oh
is
man,
going
I'm trying to
through
get
some
my
of those comments.
one-liner out here, dudes. I'm like, I'm saying, you guys can be spared Derek's scholarly rhetoric.
Holy fuck.
Fucking
sailor
scalding.
language.
Scathing
That
language.
was icy
Sup-
hot.
sup
Icy
from-
hot.
I'm going to hell.
Wisconsin.
Oh,
Okay,
at
we got a
least
guy
it's
from
warm.
Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, I found out my brother's in India right now. He's not.
We have someone from India.
Well, from Canada, in India.
In India at the moment watching us. Hello from all the way here in Canada. Jordan Fisher, hello. Jamie Bagg, hello. Brittany Bacon,
That's my cousin.
cousin for this dude over here. Clayton, hello Clayton. And hey, it's my turn. 6 song
That's
boys.
my other cousin.
Another cousin. So we got the family reunion going on.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah.
The basic
Yeah.
It's
family
a great-
reunion.
great
Matt
place.
Copper, hey Matt, how's it going? Nice to see you here. Awesome. Yeah, so what should we talk about next? The next song is actually the first song that I wrote for this album, and it's the first song Derek recorded drums
That's
to.
the one. The first one I laid drums down to was
And-
Escaping Reality.
Yeah, so it was kind of like
Yeah,
the
first one I did too.
icebreaker, as you can say. Sam Jacobs, who I work with at Rev Application, who's an absolute phenomenal guitar player, he does sometimes a little bit of piano and pads kind of stuff when in his music production. So a couple of moments in the song, he added a little bit of piano and pads to it,
Mhm.
and it's not a major focus point, but it definitely adds to the ambience of and the mood of the song. So I thank him for that. He's not here for the signing, but he will be signing the CD inserts as well, because he actually does a guest solo on the 12th track of this album, which we'll get to later. Yeah,
How about the production of the album? Maybe
the production.
We all tracked ourselves basically.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
recorded ourselves.
So this is basically what you'd call a basement or home production. Derek is really set up quite well. We're at Derek's place right now here in Winnipeg. He's got a really good setup here for tracking drums, and he tracks, I think, almost all your tracking is done here these days, eh?
Yeah, I track everything here for the
Yeah.
last pretty much since the beginning of 2018 when I got my 2 interfaces and all the mics. It was a bit of a setup investment, but once it was made, you're basically in business, right?
Yeah.
You can play around with what works and what doesn't. You focus in on what doesn't and kind of move on from there, right? But yeah, I think everything turned out super excellent. The mix has been getting a lot of good, like you've been getting a lot of comments on the mix.
Yeah, I'm very happy with people's feedback on the production. It was something that, in the beginning, I wanted to mix and produce this album myself, but I told myself if I cannot get it there or where I wanted it sounding, we were going to hire somebody and get somebody to do it justice. And unfortunately, however you want to look at it, I essentially dislocated my wrist last fall, which kind of bummed me out because it was right towards the end of the production of the album, and it set me back a few months because there was about 2 months there I couldn't even really play guitar. I could barely even work or do anything, never mind play guitar. And so instead of just getting into a depressive state, I decided to take the opportunity to sharpen my mixing and production skills, and
And you did.
I got things really
Yeah.
really polished to where I didn't think I could improve things anymore, and then I leaned on a few experienced ears that I know to give me some professional feedback, and tweak the mixes to be where they are now, how you hear them, and I'm super happy, and so far everybody else seems to be super happy.
Yeah.
With how it's turned
The
out.
separation of the instruments is very, like, it's a valid point, and I've heard a lot of people have talked about that. To me, anyways, they've been mentioning that everything can be heard in the mix, and it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
And that's a good compliment coming from anybody, especially fellow musicians that I
Well,
talk to.
I wouldn't say I'm a huge metalhead, but I do like some metal. And one of the things I don't like about some metal production is you can't really tell if there's even a bass player
Most of the time.
in the band.
Drums too.
They're just there for stage presence when you're doing the live show, so they can run around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
Aaron's bass. If I could solo his tracks and let you just listen
They
to
sound
that,
killer.
you would all your minds would be blown because his playing is phenomenal. But I didn't want that buried in the mix, so I had to really work on getting it to cut through, so you could hear him, feel what the bass is doing, but still hear everything else. And so,
I'm sorry if you don't mind. That translates really well into something that I wanted to say about this song going into it. Just transitionally, this was also the first one that I wrote, same as Derek. So it's kind of on the far end of one extreme of the learning curve that we had, learning how to write together.
Yeah.
So for me, and like I was learning a bunch of stuff. Like I joined Scott's bass lessons, and I took a Gary Willis masterclass, and like I was learning and studying so much stuff while I was writing these songs. So my approach to writing changed a lot throughout the over a year of writing this. And this being the first song is kind of like the best example of on the farthest end of like one end of that learning curve, right?
like not knowing, not even
yeah.
I would say 2/3 of the way into the album we really found ourselves.
We found what
definitely.
we worked well together a lot near the end. I found
Yeah.
because we learned what works like in conjunction with recording with each other.
And so this is right in the beginning. There's a lot of experimentation. Like right in the beginning of the song, that opening guitar melody.
Yeah.
And I made the creative decision to sort of match it on bass in a way. And that was so much like experimentation and trial and error. I must have wrote like 10 different bass parts for that, following this guitar, following the drums, trying to do something else, trying to stick to it exactly. Am I doing the melody? Am I doing the harmony? And I chose the melody like because I thought that's what sounded best for me at the time.
It's so cool because when you hear the song, it just kicks right in. It's got a guitar and bass are literally playing the same melody line, and it's so cool.
But then,
and you did that a couple times in the album.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was a couple other times where my mind went to go do that, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do this other thing that I just learned, instead of having to fall back on that same pony again.
Yeah, cool.
So it was really cool.
Well, let's get the next song rolling. It's called "Escaping Reality." It's track number 4 off the album, and enjoy. back.
Hey.
Hope you guys enjoyed that
I
song.
remember that. I know that name.
Yeah.
Incredible
We'd
work,
have to
fantastic
see
playing,
his,
so much
just,
talent. Thank you very much,
as a field
Matthew.
trip.
Sweet.
Beth is here. Hello, Beth.
I'm
Hey. Oh wow.
You did a great job on the mix, dude. Thank you very much, Matt. That means a lot.
Yeah, I sent it around.
Yeah, so we're busy signing a mad pile of
Mad stack, a fat stack.
Yeah.
Fat
If it
CD
were
stack.
a race, I would be winning. Just
Of course.
saying.
Yeah.
If it were a race of opening CDs, I would be losing though.
Yeah.
But I think we should talk maybe a little bit more about which song is next. We got Infinite Silence.
Yeah.
All right, so I was gonna say we should talk about Paul some more, and here's a song that Paul is definitely highlighted on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
He
is
added
one of
quite
those
a bit to
cool
this.
like. This song is one of the ones that's a bit of a deeper cut. Like this wouldn't be the radio song off the album. It's a little.
I call it
like-
the ballad.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It's a kind of a ballad, soft with the heavy bridge and then back to soft again.
Yeah.
It's actually, and if anybody knows, I released an album in 2006 called Fata Morgana. At the time, I had a few song ideas that either I didn't think fit the album or didn't sound right, wasn't completed, so they got shelved. This is one of the songs called Infinite Silence. It's actually one of the songs that I wanted on my first album, but I didn't like my production of it at the time. The melodies or whatever it wasn't sitting well with me. Fast forward now to having these amazing talent working on my songs, and I actually had programmed piano for this song as well, and was ready to call it a day.
Yeah.
But after hearing what this guy can do on piano, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it'd be absolutely stupid to
Use program
not
piano.
take advantage of his
That
talent.
feels
Yeah.
beautiful.
So,
Do you want to do a different kind of air?
Yeah.
oh, we're drinking. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll spark that.
More.
All right.
But yeah, so
It's Canada.
Paul took it on himself to actually write an
It's like
intro piece and an outro piece, extending the song by a good minute and a half, which is not a problem because I don't mind long songs.
But he's asking for a link for the pre-order.
A link for the pre-order.
Well,
that's a good
I
thing.
That
will,
should be in the description. Is it possible to maybe put that in the description?
I'll see what I can do.
A link for the pre-order is basically just you're either PayPaling me or sending me an e-transfer.
You do get a CD. I know it works.
Yeah, I know.
One of my buddies from California ordered the thing, and he said, "Yeah, I got the music." So.
Yeah, so that's how we're doing it. Now we're not using a third-party service. It's just direct. So if you want to actually pre-order a CD or buy a CD because they're going to be going out in the next week, just send me $20 either US. If you're in the States, it's $20 US. That includes shipping. If you're here in Canada, it's also $20 Canadian. Also includes shipping.
You put the email in just his
My-
email
my-
in the
I can't
description.
seem to find a way without stopping.
I will make a comment, and I'll,
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
comment in the comments with my email, and then we'll update the description at some point, and I'll try to reach out to you if we can. But my email for PayPal is info at scottkroeker.com. So SCOTTKROEKER.com. All I would need is your mailing address, and just maybe make a note that this is for the Rusted to Perfection
Proximity
CD.
issue for you there,
And
so-
yeah, I'll get that get you out a CD as soon as we can.
Hotboxed. You fight.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were talking about the creative process on intensification. I think my decision to do an intro and an outro was mostly, it's again we're talking about this idea. I mean, when we speak about composition, we talk about relief, and that's like usually you want to balance, and it's a push and a pull. So relief is when there's a break from something that's aggressive or tension building in some way. And the song kind of started and ended abruptly, and I just thought, hey, I got this cool little idea, that a jingle or something on the piano that works really well, and I'm gonna grow it through the course of the tune. I think the biggest challenge for me was when it was finished, like the song being finished, and then we're adding another part, was trying to find, it's like threading a needle to get the piano to sit with all the other instruments. And you've got these really cool, carefully crafted bass lines that we're trying to I mean, they're great, and I'm trying to work around that, and I'm trying to work around the melody and not get in the way of the melody of the guitar. And there's this cool, we call it arpeggiation in music, or ostinato would be another word, but those really cool ascending and descending, the acoustic guitar mid-range part, like the rhythm part. It was really neat. And when I was going through, I think I kept trying stuff on the piano and record until it comes out right, and go back and I want to change this one note and go back and record it and kind of get it working. But the one thing that was really interesting was there's the bridge, and it's really heavy, and there's not a lot going on, or there wasn't. And Scott says to me, well, I'm going to change it because it's boring. And I said, no, don't. Just leave it. Let me do something with it. And I did this big sort of Rachmaninoff-esque thing in there. I was really thinking of like Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater's really big part. It was pretty fun.
I really like what you did in the bridge. It's like it's like you're flying around on the keyboard or the piano. And it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
I didn't even know you could play piano like that. Like,
well, that was...
I was pretty impressed when I first heard it. Like, this is...
Yeah,
I had to tone down my... I have a lead melody playing in the heavy bridge that I toned down dramatically.
Yeah, you
I
can still hear it because it's long sustained notes, and when you juxtapose textures, you have a florid texture with lots of motion, and then you have a slow melody happening at the same time. And it was... In my composition studies, we actually talked about doing this in pieces and how it's like you see what's happening. There's a foreground element in a painting, and there's a background element, and both those things can coexist because they're different enough that they don't interfere with each other.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Because that's a good way to put it.
I do that a lot in this album, where I write a simple melody over a very complex rhythm and riffs that are going on behind it.
Yeah.
And I think
it posed me some challenges, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Or like doing the same trick, but like harmonically versus melodically, where you have just the same note over a bunch of complex changing chords.
It's called a pedal point or pedal tone.
Is that what that's
pedal tone? Yeah, it's basically they derive the idea in music theory from organ writing, where the pedal is like literally under your feet, and you hold like a low C. It's this rumbling sound. You have all this stuff happening, but
that's
the
where
root
it
just
lost me
sits there.
When I tried learning about pedal point and like looking up what it was, because I kept on hearing the tone, and then it got into the organ stuff, and I was like, well, it lost me with the organ thing because I didn't understand it.
Yeah, well, it's basically like you just said key beds, and then there's the one with the feet, and that's all the low notes with the feet.
Oh, like
Amy Malmsteen does this.
Also, the bass player from Consider the Source out of California, out of LA, I think. They're all like super Eastern. He plays like these own like weird like fretless guitars he invents, and the bass player has one of those, and he does this like 7/8 tapping. This like he does these crazy chords and tapping while outlining the harmony with his feet, and he's tapping, and it's so nuts. And he can improvise it in 7, and it's so crazy.
Okay, well, I think we should go on to the next song, called Infinite Silence.
That's why it's called pedal.
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed that song. That was one of the more mellower, probably the most mellow song on the album, as far as contrast to the rest of the album. But it did have a moment of energy, I guess you could call it. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's just a song that always struck with me, and there's the melody in that is one that I really connected with years ago, and so I wanted to include it on this album, and I'm glad that I did, because everything that Derek, Aaron, and Paul added to it, I think the song is epic. Honestly, I think it's so powerful and encompanies like almost everything all in one song. It's like it takes you on a pretty good emotional journey, I guess you could say. This next song, it's called 1,000 Miles to Nowhere. It's actually just one evening I was goofing around in a program called Easy Drummer, and
That's how every song starts.
Yeah.
One evening
Yeah.
I was goofing around.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, this one wasn't supposed to be anything serious. It was just something I threw together one evening in a couple hours. I slapped some drums, pre-made drum beats, and threw down a bass line and threw down some rhythms and improv a guitar solo from start to finish. And say, yeah, good enough. I'll throw this on my YouTube channel. In fact, if you were to scroll back, you might even be able to find it. It might be called Song 1 or something. Who knows what I called it, but this is long before I started the album. And then when I was reviewing some songs and material that I had on file for this album, I rediscovered that song. I'm like, you know what? There's some moments in there I really like, and I just refined some parts, and bada bing.
There's some cool dynamics in there.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's one particular part where I go to the toms.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a building moment, and it kind of segues nice into the next part.
Yeah.
I like that song quite a bit, and I've had a couple comments from friends who are like, "Wow, I really like that song," and that's one of the standout tracks for them. So
It's funny because it was a song that I really didn't. I probably had the most hesitation of including on the album, because I thought it maybe didn't fit the album quite as well. But now that everybody added their part to it, it just really turned out awesome. So let's give it a spin. This one is called 1,000 Miles to Nowhere. So
Remind me, we should finish.
you're probably wondering what the hell we're chatting about.
We're talking about music theory again.
we're having like a we have like
I'm nerdy. Fucking.
we have like the music theory genie eye,
yeah.
or whatever you want to say to the right of me. Then we have like the I don't know. Then we have the I don't know anything theory guy, and we're kind of in the same boat. So
Yeah.
we balance each other out.
Yeah.
I think well.
And I think
I can
we
read
were,
sheet music.
Paul, I think, can write a whole orchestra in his mind.
we were kind of specifically.
No, more or less.
Yeah.
And I would have to like jam along with a
Yeah.
riff for 5 days till I find three notes that I like.
And we were talking about the difference between having to rely on theory versus rely on jamming it out versus rely on like listening to it and just using your ear and your
Yeah.
audioization and predicting the sound and stuff, and like how different things work.
But my philosophy is if you can't hear it and it doesn't sound good when you hear it, then why are you writing it?
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the trap that I think a lot of theory people fall into is they don't hear it. They just go Phrygian scale. You know, they just go this chord progression.
Yeah, well, why would you use a Phrygian scale?
Because it sounds a certain way.
Because you like how it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what if you're
Yeah.
just understanding that on a technical level without actually hearing it, and like there's no like actual connection to that sound? It's like a textbook thing.
Yeah, when I was doing this, I was at U of T for my doctorate, and I just got there as a student, and we had to go and do interviews with all the composition professors. And I remember there's this guy, big white beard, looked like Brahms, Johannes Brahms in the flesh. And I was having a conversation with him, and he says, so many composers in music school don't work on their ear and don't hear well. And he says, all my students I make do an ear test, and if they don't pass the test, they get to do ear training in all their composition lessons. I'll never tell you who it is, he says. This is going on.
Wow. Wow.
No, you can't. When you're creating, you need to paint like you're creating.
Yep.
The music theory is useful because music theory is like the grammar of music. It's a language. It's conceptual. If you have a language for communicating ideas, it's easier to be able to use those ideas in a creative way. But it has to operate in the background somewhere. You're not thinking about right and wrong. You're thinking about, do I like how this sounds, or do I not like how this sounds? And that's how I write, and that's how Scott writes.
That's how I write
Aaron
as well.
writes. And
Yeah.
I mean, Derek doesn't have to worry about pitch much. He tunes his drums and then he forgets about it. He just plays.
Yeah.
No,
I tune my drums.
I would
between
say
all
every
the
song.
time.
Yeah.
He's I've never seen a drummer tune as meticulous with the tuning of the drums and maintaining the tuning of the drums as Derek is.
Maybe a
and
little
it comes
bit.
across, you know, when you hear it.
Yeah.
When you hear the mix and you hear how the drums sound in the production.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with the production of the drums on this album.
I
Big
had
time.
nothing to do with the recording of the drums. I only mixed them into the big picture. But
Yeah, I'm going to do good
This,
raw
this
audio.
Pearl Master set, the toms sound absolutely amazing with the heads that I put on. So
yeah, you got your tuning system perfected.
yeah,
I remember you sending me a message a couple years ago when I had the jam nights. That was when I actually had a full drum kit at my place, so that anybody who could come down and jam didn't have to bring drums, because that's a lot of work to set up
yeah, it is.
and mic up.
Yeah,
So remember you sending me a message about tuning. He gives me like a detailed. It's like the top skin needs to be this frequency. The
Yeah.
bottom one needs
Yep.
to be this frequency. Like a
Yeah.
chart of all the different frequencies to tune the kit to. And it's he definitely knows what he's doing to get that awesome thundering sound of the kit, and I love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, everything turned out so well on that regard in the performance, and I'm very happy with my performance. Don't get me wrong, but the production helps big time because it punches through. You did a very good job of
Yeah, man.
making everything heard.
Awesome.
Should we play another song?
We should play
We should
another
definitely
song.
play another song. We are now at Smooth Sailing, is it? No, Indecision. Indecision.
The
That's
next
another.
album will have the song Diversification.
Yeah.
Indecision is a weird song because
Yeah, it's another, like, variety
it just
track.
jumps from a minor. I think it's a minor ninth and a major ninth. It's jumping major minor, and it's typically I don't write anything in a major scale.
See, is it changing like from a major chord with a ninth to a minor chord with a ninth?
Yeah.
Or is it the ninth is changing from a major ninth to a minor ninth?
Ninth stays. So it's
Oh, so it's a common tone modulation. That's the
yeah.
relationship.
It's just literally
There's
from
one,
major
one
minor.
note that's a pivot note, and then all the other notes move
And it's the third.
around that.
Yeah.
Usually.
The root is the same. The ninth is the same.
Oh,
The
it's just
third that
parallel.
changes?
Okay.
It's if you think of a minor arpeggio and a major arpeggio.
Right, so it's just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
That's
it's
all
a
it's changing.
It's a parallel
Yeah,
relationship.
and there's a
happening.
there's a ninth added to the arpeggio, so you'll hear it.
Dope.
Let's give this sucker a spin. It's called Indecision. We are now back. Welcome back, everybody. That was Indecision off the album Rusted to Perfection.
With the pads, so the pad echoes.
Now we're going to change up a little bit. We one of the things we advertised that we were going to give away a CD. We're actually going to give away
Yeah.
2 CDs tonight.
No, it's 2.
It is 2.
2.
We had a lot of people kind enough to leave us comments on our YouTube video for
Yeah, we had
intensification.
lots of
So
comments.
I said if there was going to be enough people commenting, we were going to give away 2. So we're going to do one now, and then we'll do one later on.
All right, I'll let you do the draw.
All right.
The
So let's see what
magic
we got.
hat.
Yeah, man. Let's see what's happening here.
Let's see what we got. We have music, art, thing.
Oh.
Ah, that is just.
I remember seeing that
Yeah.
one.
Okay,
I don't
so
know who that is,
That
but
sounds like a company or a brand.
yeah.
I'm not. You're probably not watching at
it's
the
a YouTube
time.
profile, though. We can contact them.
That's right. I will leave a message and respond to your comment. You have won yourself a free autograph CD.
And if they, how long do they have? To if
Oh.
it's like a,
You know what?
person?
We're not going to be doing another live stream, so if they,
we'll just pick another one.
I'm
if
sure
it's
that
not a
I'm sure
person.
that will respond. They took the time to comment
That's
on the
true.
video in the last few days, so we're should
Yeah.
be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. This next song is actually another one. That's a leftover idea from my first album from way back.
Yeah.
It. I just didn't think it fit the vibe of the album, so it just didn't get put on. And now, when working on this album, and I started going through some old material, and I listened to that song, I'm like, and knowing what Derek and Aaron can add to the song, I'm like, yeah, this has I gotta throw it at these guys. And some people might call it a video game music.
Yep.
It definitely
Video
could.
music's awesome.
Oh, I
Yes,
tried.
I agree.
tried
Yeah.
doing some.
Some of
MIDI
the best
tones.
music is video game
Yeah.
music.
You guys, I wrote an 80-page paper for my DMA it was on video game music and
Incredible.
fan
Wow.
composers.
Oh, cool.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was my third
That's
year.
a big one.
It was
Yeah.
big, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is probably a song that doesn't really follow much of a standard format. It kind of just goes here and goes there, but
Yeah.
kind of
We
does
call that an organic form.
organic form.
There we are.
Perfect.
Use
It
some
is
big words.
organic in the way that it was constructed for the drums, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I love what you did in the drum. There's
did.
one bass part that you do. Maybe I'll point to the camera who's watching if I recall when we get to there. But yes, you do some amazing stuff on the album. But this song, there's this one part that I remember. I just love what you guys did. But let's give it a spin. This song is "Smooth Sailing." That song is the only song that fades out.
We're having the most interesting conversation when we're not live. Because all the good stuff is happening when we're muted.
When we're muted, exactly.
Why don't we can get into it a little. We were just sort of talking about the process of how we all came in one layer at a time and was writing on top of what was there and pre-existing, and then how going forward it's going to be a lot more involved across the board from the ground up. Like, there'll be the initial ideas, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But,
For
like,
the next album.
Yeah.
Yeah, this album was mostly, about the first half of it was just songs that I'd completely written with drums, bass, leads, melodies, the whole 9 yards. That's when Derek got involved.
I think they got changed anyway.
They all got changed. Derek never heard my original drums. When I send him the song, I would send
Most
him with.
of them I never heard the bass.
I would send it to him without the drums, and then once I got the drums back from Derek, I would mix them in.
You pretty much gave me free reign too.
100%.
Yeah.
That I should really talk about that because that's an important part of this.
That is a pretty
Puzzle.
important part. Yes.
Oh, man.
This is not a hired gig type of position where I'm hiring musicians to perform on my album. This is these guys genuinely wanted to be part of this project. And I genuinely wanted them to have full creative freedom because it became more a part of them that way. It more passionate and more fun, right? I wanted you guys to have fun with it.
And more honest.
Yeah.
Honest.
Yeah, it's
like,
a better expression.
It
yeah.
is, yes.
And I think both of you guys I think all of you guys walk away with the
Satisfaction.
The satisfaction
Yeah.
of, like, this wasn't a hired gig where here's the sheet music that you have to play these notes.
Yeah,
Do
it's
this,
all handed to you on a silver platter. At least you can sprinkle some spice on there when you want. And I did have the creative freedom to add certain little moments of flair, right?
Absolutely. There's a couple times when I would get your track back, and I think it was the title track, "Rusted to Perfection," which we played earlier. You went really in a weird, not a weird, but a really cool and different direction than what I had programmed.
Yeah.
Which he hadn't heard, but I had heard. So I'm used to the silly drums that I had programmed. Then I hear his, and I was actually the first listen. I was like, "What? This is different."
Yeah.
Right.
And then you
throws you
listen
off.
again and you're
Yeah.
like, this is better.
And then you listen again. You're like, "Okay, I know what he's doing here." And then on the third lesson, you're like, "Fuck
There
yeah.
it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is the shit."
Especially when the bass is added. Like,
So
Oh.
and then like you change it so much with the drums, but then that becomes the new normal, and then
Yeah.
that's when I come in, right? So
Totally.
I'm getting introduced to the song at the point where you've already added such a big creative element to it, also within the structure of what was there.
Yep.
And then so that for me as a bass player, my mind goes like, okay, play the chord, but do the rhythm, you know. So
yeah, your whole right hand's worked out for you
Yeah.
already.
exactly. Yeah. So you just
Yeah.
match that, and there it is.
Being an
It's cool.
instrumental album definitely affords everybody to be busier.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
too.
Right.
We don't have to
Yeah.
leave room for vocals.
We knew that going into it, that we did have more creative freedom because we don't have to worry about vocals, right? So that's a huge thing right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we move on?
Let's go to the next one. This one is, I believe, the Interlude. So
We're about halfway.
this involves just this guy. So as we were talking about earlier, you had this idea for an interlude after we talked about you adding piano to a different song,
Yeah.
and
Very powerful piece of
and,
music.
now, and here it is.
It just needed that.
And
did.
That space.
I love this piece. It is such a nice, like you said, a palate cleansing contrast from the whole album because there's so much going on in
There's
this
a lot
album.
of emotion put into it.
And there's a lot of emotion in this album. Even though it's an instrumental, it speaks and tells stories. So having this little...
I'm a big Animals as Leaders fan. I love instrumental music.
Yeah.
Oh, me
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
So
so
I love
this-
Animals.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
and I was in an instrumental metal band like
Yeah,
from the start. That was like the core of my professional foundation there. So this project for me was really getting back to my roots. And it was refreshing, and it was cool to see like how taking a step out of the instrumental epic metal, like that becomes a pretty niche thing, and a lot of metal people get so involved in the metal community because it's so committed, you know, everybody's so passionate about it, and there's a lot of chops in it too, so people just get really focused. And then, you know, there's a lot of other stuff out there. There's a lot of other little hidden pocket genres around that like don't go out and do big things. They have amazing musicians doing their things like at this little place, you know. So I spent a few years like discovering some of those and like learning to like different types of music, whereas before I only allowed myself to like metal, you know, and only that certain genre of metal.
Yeah,
and
genres.
Yeah,
you get stale and it's stuck in a rut.
Now it's like I learned to appreciate like singing and like fucking East Coast like stagger and like, you know, I've always liked hip hop and stuff, but definitely like joining a band that wasn't a metal band helped me have a whole different perspective and get out like it was like my head's coming out of the clouds, you know.
Yeah.
And then coming back to it now, I feel like there was this amount of clarity because of that, and it gave me a really cool ability to laser bass, you know.
Laser bass. Cool. All right, so this is actually Paul's song that he very kindly recorded and contributed to this album. It is called Sempiternal, I think I pronounced that right. And I forget what the word means, but I chose that word because of its meaning. You're welcome to look it up on Google.
You should like type it in the chat.
Maybe someone
Somebody
is kind enough to look.
Yeah, they're gonna look right now. I'll do it.
Type it in the chat.
Yeah. All right, here we go. We're back. Give the guy a round of applause.
Woo! Beautiful performance.
Wow,
Absolutely amazing piece.
Wow, etc.
Wow, etc.
But it definitely, like,
It's really
It sends
puts
shivers
some
down my
heart
spine.
into the album, you know.
It really does.
Puts
It
a lot
really
of emotion. I think one of the things is the type of the album this is for a piece like that makes it shocking when you hear it. You know, it's a
Yeah.
surprise. Like I feel like that song wouldn't have the impact it does like on a classical violin album or wherever. You know,
Surrounded by other equal
Yeah.
type
Yeah,
songs.
but if I was writing a classical violin album,
or
I
a
wouldn't
string
write
quartet or
or a
whatever.
string quartet. I wouldn't write that.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
I have a 5-string violin suite that I've been working on. I mean, the rough draft is done, and I'm working with a player on it, and it's nothing like that. So
No.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
What I really
done.
like about the interlude is that it made a way. It paved the space to include 5x5 in the record, and in fact, the melody from that I use at the beginning of 5x5. It was this really. It's 5x5 is so cool. Like the guitar part is just extremely technical. It's very challenging to play, I would imagine.
It was
Yeah.
it's
You recorded those in one take, didn't you?
So yeah, this is a
But
song
that was
that's
insane.
That is insane for
this
one take.
This is back when
in
my
a
buddy-
whole take.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Maybe
Yeah.
not first take, but
Maybe not.
Yeah.
that'd be crazy.
So
who knows?
so Renee, who is a buddy of mine from a long back, and we jammed for many years together with acoustic 7 strings.
Yeah.
And 5x5 is the final song we're going to play tonight. It's coming up later. We've still got a few more to play.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, but we jammed it and practiced it like so much, and it's a very, very. The intro piece in particular is very challenging to play.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we practiced, and we got to the point where we were really good at it, and we're like, you know what? We should probably just record this for the hell of it, so we have it recorded.
Yeah, which was a good decision.
And so we basically did 2 live takes in my living room, and both takes were probably like a 95 plus performance,
Right. Yeah.
with a couple maybe missed notes or goofed up notes. So I literally just put the two takes and made one great take out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we'll probably talk a bit more about that when we get to it later. But this next song is a definite stark contrast from the interlude, and this is probably one of the things I love most about the album, is this transition where we go from this nice calming interlude where we just kind of bring you back down to earth, and then now it's time to launch you to the stratosphere with extreme prejudice.
Extreme prejudice.
Yeah, this song it's probably the slowest, heaviest song on the album.
Yes.
And it was also a leftover idea from my first album. Clearly did not fit the vibe.
Don't throw away your leftover ideas when you're writing.
Correct.
No.
Yeah, just
Don't delete them.
keep
You
them.
just need a new performer.
Yes.
Add some new people.
Yeah, no kidding.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
this is a song that I had. Again, I had programmed drums and bass. I had a full structure of a song with no lead lines or any melodies or anything like that. And I had tried to write lead lines and melodies to it in the past, and I could not come up with anything I liked. Literally hated everything I created. While working on this album, I was going through the maybes pile, and I spotted this song, and I'm like, oh my god, now that I know what Derek can do on the drums, he is going to destroy this song. And so once Derek and Aaron added their parts, I was able to actually finally write some lead lines and stuff that I really like. So let's get into it. This song is called Shards of Glass. that's got to be one of my favorite songs.
It's a hard hitter on the album.
It's powerful. It
Yeah.
just someone didn't turn their sound off.
That's all right.
I was going to do a little bit of shout out here to some of the commenters here because we've got a lot more people chiming in and checking things out.
That's awesome.
Louis Torres, hey, nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Ron Verhoog, hopefully I pronounced that
Yeah.
right. Eric Flake, thank you for stopping by.
That's boss level game music. That's a great comment.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
These guys know what's up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mark
Yeah.
London, hey, how's it going? Thank you for stopping by. Hey, it's my turn. I don't know what your name is, but thank you for the
His
comments.
name's
And check. Kyle is also a cousin?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the same guy.
Oh, you mentioned earlier, that's right. Stephen Patterson, right on. Thank you for stopping by, checking things out. Korea Donna Vlog. I'm going to take
What's
it
up,
you're
Korea
from Korea.
Hey.
Thanks for stopping
That's
by.
awesome.
Yeah, so that song was pretty heavy. Now this next song is actually also a acoustic guitar idea that I had from my acoustic years that I wanted to include. But the second half of this song, Clayton, I'm sure you're listening and watching.
The shape.
The
This-
shape.
This is your favorite transition song because you always talk about it every time I played it to you. This is just a really cool song. This probably has my favorite.
Yeah, she is from Korea.
This has probably got my favorite melody line of all the melody lines I've written. I've written some complicated, crazy stuff on this album, but sometimes it's the most simplest, easiest to play lines that I'm the most proudest of. And this one has a melody in it that definitely meets that
What?
criteria. So,
What's that?
but the ending song is really cool. These guys.
Okay.
Paul also is on this album. He's added some piano to it. Like you said in the past, it's like what did you say? Like threading a needle.
This song.
This is the timelessness. Of time.
Timelessness of time.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like play too busy.
Yeah.
Play less.
There
Too
is-
busy.
yeah.
Play less. Too busy.
So I had a complicated programmed piano part. It was simply using some pre-programmed broken chords. They call them in easy. I think it's called easy keys. And whatever I had chosen from easy keys was almost an identical match to what I was actually playing on the guitar, and so they complemented each other well. But again, fast forward to Paul getting involved, I'm like, no, we got to get a real piano player in this song. So Paul added his magic to it as well. Now, when the song switches at the end, at the halfway mark, it goes into something different.
So many displacements.
There's a really cool part where I'm playing, the riff is in 5/4, but I play a melody that's 10/4 over top. So the riff behind it kind of flips and flops back and forth because your brain is focused on this 10/4 melody that I'm playing. And so then it locks into that repeating pattern, and which causes everything behind it to just seem like a trance. Because you're playing what I think you call a polyrhythm or something.
There's a big development in that section that I'm doing, like, and it's fun because it starts with, I think, just like maybe 2 triads or something. Like it just starts with one going up, like a 3 notes going up, do do do, and 3 going down, do do do, or something like that. And then it just builds, do 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 do, and then later's do 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 do, and then so it starts just copying those 3 notes in octaves and then mixing up the order that they come in and adding length to it and fucking with the phrasing, but it's all just different combinations of those like basic 3 note concepts.
It's amazing because the rhythm part on the guitar is just a simple riff that I just repeat for like 32 bars, pretty much. And then when Derek got his tracks to track to, there was no lead lines or anything. Even though I had the 10/4 melody already written, but I knew if I included it in the backing track for Derek, it would fuck up whatever you would do.
Yeah.
Or you would try to follow it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
Yeah,
let you
I
do
didn't
your
hear
thing.
bass. I didn't hear bass. I didn't hear keyboards. I
Nope.
only heard your
You
guitars.
just had this one stupid riff playing over and over, for like
over,
32 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna see what he's gonna do because I know you're gonna get creative
Yeah.
and change things up. And it was so fucking cool when I got the tracks back and I mixed them into my Pro Tools, and then I added the layered melody, the 10/4 melody back over top.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
At the end of each bar or every second bar, I would do displaced notes, and then it would kind of take it off kilter, but it would line up perfectly.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but yeah.
Let's get into it.
You take it over here and make it up later.
little displaced notes. Yeah.
You got the Wang amps, guys.
Nice.
Hey Jeff from Wang's Amp, thanks for stopping by. Let's kick into the timelessness of time. just checking out how many of you guys are checking out the live stream. Looks like we're already at like 145 people have viewed the live stream already. This is
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome for a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this guy,
Except him,
this
yeah.
guy, and this guy, and this guy are more buddies than I am. I'm more of a nobody.
Nah,
I wouldn't say that, but yeah.
whatever nobody means.
Yeah.
You're
We're all riding
You're an
to your
amazing
fame here.
person.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping that word gets out about this album and people can check it out, because so far all the feedback we've been getting from you people has been absolutely
it's been incredible, really.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Overwhelmingly positive.
overwhelmingly
Yes.
positive is
Absolutely, it
a great
is.
way to put it. And I mean, we knew we have something special here because we all poured our hearts and soul into this thing, and I think we're probably all some of the most hardest people to please when it comes to the stuff
yeah.
that we write for
Oh.
ourselves.
How many retakes and like
Oh yeah.
even after he send it, like do a dozen retakes just at home and then send it to you and then realize
fix it,
that I have to fix a
it,
whole bunch more
fix
shit.
it.
Yeah, I had to redo Rusted to perfection a few
Yeah.
times.
But that's
Yeah.
how things go sometimes. But I
Yes,
would say
what you need.
overall, like a lot of times, drums are quantized on a lot of production these days. There's none of that on this album.
No.
If the drum beat's a tiny fraction off, what you would call a human.
We left the human touch
The
in.
human
human
element,
touch.
yeah.
That's all in this album.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take suck the life out of the
The
performances.
feel, kill the feel.
Yeah.
Another
Paul and I were talking
that
about
sounds
that.
like MIDI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Typewriter drums.
typewriter
Yeah,
drums.
yeah.
Yeah. No, and definitely can't go with programmed drums if you
No
want.
sample drums.
If,
Yeah.
you,
No.
if you want that, if you want the real deal, the real feel.
You need the butteriness and the real feel of a human. as
Well,
a
it's like
drummer.
you said, a lot of the drum beats that you actually play could possibly be programmed,
Oh, for sure.
but the cymbal work could never, ever. There is no drums
No,
programming
there
software
isn't.
that could.
I
that
don't
could-
like the sound of any sampled cymbals at
But
all.
You can get really good and creative, and some amazing drum programmers out there.
Yeah, but
It'll
doesn't-
never
doesn't-
replace the real
It
thing.
doesn't sound the same because of the feel. The feel's not the same.
No.
No,
And the real magic with feels when you track the drums first, and then everybody plays to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's that push and pull that happens.
yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is why I would like for the next album, we're already talking about the next album. So
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I would like to lay the foundation down, but
Yeah.
we're gonna do demos first, and I think that's a good pathway.
And then we have to remember everything we played for the demo.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a recording of it.
we'll have references with the demo.
Hey, so I've done a few guest solos in the last couple weeks for some artists,
Yay.
and so now what I'm doing is I've literally just videotaped myself recording the take that I send them. That way, if I ever have to go back to it,
You remember exactly.
yeah, and
what
then
you
I save the take in the folder that I have the recording in,
sealed in a vault.
and on backup. So that's like a year down the line. Hey, we want to record a video. Can you record yourself playing this your solo? I'm like, okay, well, fuck, I got to learn this. Well, if I got a video of myself actually playing it, it makes life a little easier.
Yeah.
But let's get on with the next song, because this is the craziest song on the album.
Yeah.
It was-
Clicks are for noobs. No, seriously, you have usually what I would do when I'm recording stuff working with Derek is I just have a count in.
Mhm.
And or if the drums drop out, have a click, but otherwise I only use the click to know when to come in. I think Derek usually uses a click just so he knows what his general is.
Well,
his
it's just
roll
on
is.
like
drums,
you did the program drums on the click track, because that's how you
I
program them.
tracked to a
And
click.
then Derek recorded his drums to the guitars
Yeah,
that
to
were
the
tracked
scratch
click.
scratch track.
And
Yeah.
by this point of the album, he was sending me the MIDI tempo maps, which helped greatly in the tracking.
Yeah.
And this is a more complicated song than some of the other ones as well.
Believe it or
yeah,
not.
this is a very over the top song. Musically, it's got some craziness going on. It opens with basically a 1916 time signature, and
Count it, I dare you.
count it. I dare you. I love that.
I would probably just break something like that down. It would be like
You have to break it.
6,
4,
8, 5, 8, 6,
yeah.
8, 5, 8, that sort of
This
thing.
it was 5, 5, 5, and 4 is how.
That's-
Okay, so
that's-
5, 8, 5,
that's
8,
the way
5,
I
8,
counted it.
Sorry, 5, 16, 5, 16, 5, 16, 4,
And honestly,
16.
when you hear the riff, like the phrasing is pretty explicit. Like the way that it, when you hear it, I'm gonna mix up my riff. I try and sing it, but I remember like you telling me that and thinking of like all these different ways to think about 1916. But then when you just come to it, the riff is. It doesn't sound like a weird time signature. Like it's just the subdivisions are steady enough that it's smooth.
Yeah.
And you can just hear the phrasing of it pretty clearly. You know,
Mhm.
it's
It's
not
defined.
jarring or anything.
No, it's defined.
The point of fun time signatures is because sometimes the container doesn't fit the musical idea, so we need a different container to fit the musical
Correct.
idea.
Correct.
And I just like odd time signatures.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's called additive rhythm. Anyway, we won't
Yeah.
get too deeply
If
into
you have
that.
water, you keep it in a glass. If you have a genie, you keep it in a lamp. And
Yeah.
So this song was this was
There you
actually
go.
this was actually
glass
different. Yeah.
lamp, glass lamp. That's additive rhythm.
there you go.
So this was the last song that we tracked. We had originally saved it for last because we were going to get a fairly famous guest solo artist on the song, but due to scheduling conflicts, it wasn't able to happen. But I do know some amazingly talented people, and once again, I got my co-worker Sam Jacobs, absolutely phenomenal guitar player. I asked if he was willing to fill in the slot for the guest solo in the song, and he knocked us out of the park. If you're counting in minutes, he comes in at 3 minutes and 21 seconds into the song. But
now they're going to count in minutes.
Now they're gonna count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, this is one of the few songs where I actually tracked all the main melody lines where I doubled them up and then panned them hard right, hard left. It creates a really unique sound, a little bit more difficult to do.
Tick.
Yeah, but here we go. Let's kick into the song. It's called Metamorphic State. It's a crazy one. So hey, let us know in the comments what you think of that crazy tune.
Yeah, that was the last one that we tracked.
That
if
was
I'm
the
not mistaken.
You were the first one to be officially done.
Yes.
When he did his parts, then he got his bass parts done,
Yeah.
and then that's about the time I injured my wrist. So the song and the production kind of got put on hold as I spent my time learning how to mix.
And that's also when I think I started really backcombing through some of the others. That was when I basically had finished like writing and tracking for the most part, and then I had to go back and do like punch-ins for certain things here and there. So
Also
able to start
reamping,
fine-tooth combing, and fucking with my tones,
because your tone had developed quite a bit throughout the almost
I
year and a half.
I recall in the band chat we were talking about that, and you having to re-record.
That was all part of, like I was saying, all those courses and like stuff I was learning about while doing this. Like I took just the stuff for the tone. Like I learned how Gary Willis did recordings. I learned how Nolly did recordings. I did a thing for Ellefson from Megadeth had his one. And then there was like an Adam Neely had his course, and then there was another one that I can't remember too. And it was like all of that stuff was shifting as we were going and developing and learning and getting better, like right up until the end. And then like all the neural DSP stuff is just so good and so versatile, and there's so many resources out there for different people doing different things. Oh, it was Jacob Umansky had a few live sessions through Scott's bass lessons that I attended, where he was going through his bass tone and how he records. And I mean, aside from the ding wall, it's almost like cheat codes for bass, but
yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot to the process, and there's so much learning happening.
Yeah,
while
it's
doing this.
you don't have to tell me, because I had to mix this bass in.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which you did a great job of.
Did an excellent
You got to
job.
get it loud enough that you can hear it, but it doesn't drown everything out. And so
I was very adamant about having the bass be heard, because when you're dealing with an instrumental album, and in general, I just love a good sounding bass guitar in the mix.
absolutely,
It sucks when you can't hear the bass.
Yes.
yeah.
Another
sucks.
Especially when it's a very amazing bass.
Yeah, exactly. And the performances are excellent.
Another thing that evolved halfway, three-quarters of the way, well, a third of the way through probably was I got my Nordstrand pickups.
Oh yeah.
I got new pickups on the bass halfway through, so that all of a sudden,
Yeah, that's
I
different.
almost went
Yeah.
back. I think I retracked like.
One or two songs.
I think it was more than. I think there was only one or two that I didn't do, and then there was one
That's
or two
right.
that are on a different bass, and then there was one or two. There was one that I left with the old pickups. Everything else, I went back and like redid
That's
the whole
right.
song with the new.
So
pickups
after you were
and-
done working on the last song, you weren't done. You had to actually, and that took a few weeks.
Yeah, it did. It took a couple months, actually.
But that was also good because at that point it wasn't me trying to write at the same time. I was able to just focus on learning it and recording it. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we only have two more songs left. That last song we listened to was called Metamorphic State. I was in a band a few years earlier called Fishbowl Odyssey, which was just an instrumental project. And I had a couple songs that I had wrote for that project that I just didn't want to let die. And this Metamorphic State was definitely one of the songs I could not let die. It was just too crazy. This next song is also one from that project. But Derek's drumming, especially in the bridge or in the middle section of the song, you said you put like a shuffle, or what did you call it?
Yeah, it's a shuffle. It's definitely a shuffle.
But it's not the kind of shuffle you would think of when you hear the word shuffle.
No.
That's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
Is when you take something that's like it usually wouldn't go there, but you make it work. You know, you fit that star peg in the round circle, and it's
hi-hat clasps. So there's a couple hi-hat clasps within that shuffle.
Nice.
So it gives it a little bit more dynamic to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. This song is called A New Beginning.
at the end.
like the songs that we're playing for you tonight.
Got another person on there.
If I could do a couple little shout outs here to or answer a couple of questions. Michael J. Stewart asking for a live show or virtual show. Well, that's something not out of the question, but
We should do a split screen cover, like, especially like going into the new material.
I would like to do some. I would like to do at least a couple playthroughs, maybe yet, of some of the songs.
Yeah.
But a live performance probably is not going to happen anytime soon. These guys are both in other bands themselves, and they're
Paul's a composer. And
Yeah.
Paul's a very busy guy too, so there would have to be enough of a demand for it, and then we would have to start rehearsing and getting ready for something like that, because
just the sheer
It's
amount
demanding
of work
music.
that it
Yes,
would take
it
to
is.
put that together, we would have to like put our lives on hold
yeah.
to prepare that. So it would really need to be a delicate balance of making it worth it, you know.
If we could go fund me, get enough money to pay us to quit our
Yeah,
job.
there you go.
Right.
Exactly.
Make music for a living.
Or
and-
actually pay us enough to be successful at our jobs for a change.
Yeah, right.
We're just trying to build up exposure for the band at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing's out of the question.
Yeah.
But it has to be within our means, and that.
And
will,
who knows what the future holds? Like, I
Exactly,
mean, there might
yeah.
be an opportunity later this year that we play a couple songs at a gig somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah.
I can't see us performing the whole album anytime soon
Hey,
live.
and if we get a 30-minute set that's like 3 songs.
We only have to play 3
Yeah.
songs.
You
Yeah.
have to have. We'll do a jam.
Phase 3
if we get it.
intensification and
Yeah.
one more. You pick.
Yeah.
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 So we got one more song left, but before we do that, we are gonna draw one last CD for our CD giveaways tonight.
All right.
All right.
I'll let
so
you do
let's-
the honors. Do a little shuffle in there.
These those names were taken out of comments.
So everybody,
from the
anybody
first
that
single.
commented on the YouTube video prior to today, got entered in. Let's see who do we got here. We got Eric Casper. If you're,
Nice.
I don't think you're watching, but I'll
Yeah,
message
that's-
you on Facebook
That's pretty
and let
sweet.
you know that you
That's
won
awesome.
yourself a CD and get all the information I need.
We were signing them too.
We were signing them
signed
too.
CDs.
Just
Signed
scribbled-
CDs.
scribbled-
Signed
CDs.
scribbled
Yeah.
CDs.
And signed CDs, by the way, are only available to the pre-orders. We might have a few left over as we sign 50 of them, but there's only going to be a few left, and we'll maybe make an announcement after we get through all the pre-orders, and maybe we'll offer a few more. But to get everybody together to sign all the CDs is a lot of work. We all live pretty much all over the place.
all over Manitoba.
Yeah.
Paul and
Yeah.
I live close together. We're like 10 minutes apart, but Scott lives out of town.
I'm like
He
an
lives
hour.
in
I'm
the
an hour and a
sticks.
half. Yeah, I'm in the boonies. I'm an hour and a half from here. I think you're like
Yeah.
about a good hour from here too.
Yeah, he's about an hour.
Yeah. So and Renee, who is actually the other acoustic guitar player on this last song, who's a good friend of mine. He lives like 4 hours away. Luckily, he's coming out this weekend to sign his signatures. But
And you said Sam's going to as well.
Sam's gonna next weekend when I get to work. Yeah,
That's nice.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
bring
That's
bring
very
it to
nice
work,
of him.
so,
Yeah, that's nice of him.
And our live stream tech, Sean. Not sure how far you live, but you're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you
Shout out
very
to
Yes,
much.
Sean.
Thank
shout out
you.
to Sean. Thank you so
Sean.
much.
Thank you so much.
for doing this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It really does mean a lot to us, because otherwise it would have probably just been a cell phone sitting on a
It would have been
tripod.
us sitting here being like, hold on a second.
Yeah. Oh, my phone is vibrating.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this last
Yes.
crazy masterpiece.
Incredible song.
So it's an acoustic song that I wrote several years ago. And my buddy Renee and I would practice it a lot because it's very difficult to play. And
Yeah.
so we recorded it one evening, used it, and on this album, I was almost towards the end. I was debating whether I was going to include the song on the album or not.
I'm like, you should include it. You should include it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
then-
should include
Devil
it.
on the shoulder.
For the last 2 years, you should include it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
It's cool.
so
Ryan
finally
is
at the end,
good.
I'm like, "Hey," I asked Paul, "Do you wanna do something with the song?" And he said, "Yeah, I probably should."
Yeah, it's
I've
already
only been talking about doing something
Yeah.
for all these years.
Yeah,
so,
in 2 years.
Yeah,
ever
so,
since I heard it.
so okay,
It's a serenade
yeah.
of guitars.
So it's going on the album.
Yeah.
I sent it to Paul, and then whatever it was, maybe was it a week or so? Maybe I forget how long you spent on it.
Yeah, it wasn't too terribly long.
Yeah, it was like, let's say
I
a
mean,
week.
I was writing, and I would write a section, and then record it, and then move on to the next section. I worked
Yeah,
my part on it.
yeah.
It was really interesting process because there's the piano. There's two different musical melodies that I included. The second one, the piano one, there's a big section of that was improvised, and I went back and corrected, punched in places to kind of tighten it up.
Improv is though a lot of, I guess, I would say this album is probably has the least amount of improv stuff by me on it when it comes to like leads.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still a few leads where like I just hit record and who knows what the hell and just
Something happened.
just let loose and listen to it afterwards and go like, yeah, I like that. I'm keeping that.
And there's tons of like musical examples of that in history. Like, you know, a lot of the jazz masters back in the day, Dizzy Gillespie, those guys, they would take, you know, 9 recordings with the big jazz band, you know, take 14 recordings of it and go back and be like, I think number 7 was the best one, you know, and then that's the one on the recording.
Yeah.
And each of them are different because it's all improvising. All the solos are different and stuff for the most part.
When I was tracking, I definitely did some improvisation stuff, but at the time, I was trying to figure out what works within the confines of what you gave me, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was tracking, I'm thinking, well, I'm just gonna try something, listen back and play back, and hopefully it's gonna sound good. If it doesn't, I move on to the next idea.
Try another idea.
Yeah, try other ideas and move on if it doesn't work out.
Jumping back to Escaping Reality we listened to earlier, the melody that you come in with, I come in with, I had a totally different melody for that song, and I loved that melody, and I played it to friends, and they loved that melody. But it was probably around the 50th listen.
You're like, that doesn't work.
All of a sudden, the love started turning,
Lost some for
and
you.
it very quickly turned to hate. And it was like, I hate it. Now I gotta delete it, and that's
But
kind of.
you hope you saved it because it might be useful to you in the future.
Oh, it's gone. I can't even. I can't. I probably have an original rendering. I do have some original
under.
MP3s of that still saved, like the early when I was still using Reaper, and I was still making the demos, and I probably have the melody there, but I couldn't even care what it is at this point because the one I added after was just so much better.
I still use Reaper,
but.
Yeah, lots of people still use Reaper.
Yeah,
Reaper's great.
I
People like it.
Reaper for tracking is excellent for drums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the last song. I hope you guys had a lot of fun hanging with us as we ramble on about the process of this album. And
there's much more to say.
we could probably talk
we're
another.
just scratching the surface for.
We are.
Like we didn't even like really get to, like if we were to actually go riff by riff and be like, here I was going for this, and it's like you know, like we could.
I actually thought the original plan with our audio setup was to have the music playing and us still being able to talk.
And then you wouldn't have heard anything.
And still be able to hear us. But the reality of that was we would have been every time, like, this we would have been talking and would have to pause the music and talk about this next part coming up. So
It's meant for a dedicated listen.
Yeah.
So I think the audio problems that we had tonight actually were for the better.
Yeah, it turned out to be a boon.
Yeah.
And most of them happened before we actually got live, so I think all of them we got it all sorted out pretty much before.
And we were only half an hour late.
Yeah, exactly. It's not so bad.
Yeah.
But pay attention, like the first cello melody that comes in. It wasn't the cello melody. It's the piano.
Piano comes in
The
first.
first piano melody is the same one from Sempiternal. It's the same melody.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like how you combined a lot of these ideas throughout.
And if I'd had more creative latitude on more songs, there would have been more of that.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you.
Yes.
Yes.
That's how. You have to listen to the composer, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
If
So
you
that-
guys haven't figured it out, this last track is obviously another one of those bit of contrast pieces on the album, and largely the mind baby of our composer.
Well, the guitar parts are not something to stick your nose up at. They're crazy.
They're fast.
they are.
And that's what was so fun about working on this, trying to. You'll hear a lot of times where I'll have background textures happening at left hand piano or cello that are just echoing and contributing, adding color to the texture that exists already from the guitar. I did a lot of that in this.
Yes.
And then the other element is contrast, which is the one thing the piece didn't have was melody. So I just that's something that I'm quite adept at. So I just piled it on. It's like ketchup on French fries.
You sure did pile it on with that burger earlier.
That was awesome.
Yes.
burger was great. With the barbecue sauce on it.
Yes, thank you,
Double
Derek,
patty,
for the
double
master
cheese.
chef for cooking us some burgers earlier.
Yeah, grilling.
That's just what I do. I love barbecuing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
grilling. Grilling is
Grilling
great.
is the best.
If he was in an anime, he'd be called Grillin.
Yeah.
Wait, are we gonna do a weeb count here?
Yeah.
Oh jeez. Wait till after that.
So
Time to mute the composers.
Yeah, no.
Quiet.
Well, here's another thing, I guess. Paul and I also have worked together on songs as well, so that's another aspect too. That's how I.
that's right. Yeah, you guys are working on some songs on a project on the side.
With,
right now.
with
Yeah,
Mark
yeah.
Peters, yeah.
Mark
with
Peters,
Yeah, and
Peters.
some of my own metal I've been writing too, which is.
Is that when's that slated for? To come to the
We're
world?
releasing singles,
we're going so stinking slow. It just might
Yeah.
find itself on the next SKP album. Or something.
Yeah, no
Who knows,
doubt.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last song of the album. Derek and Aaron are not on this song,
So they get a break.
so they can.
Yeah.
they can get
We're just gonna leave. Like
Yeah,
we're
just
done
leave.
being butt
But,
brothers on the couch here, all
Yeah,
squished together
yeah.
in an inappropriate
So
way.
you want a little big fatty?
Yeah, if this wasn't called a love seat before, it is now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know.
Bromance.
Well, on that note, let's kick into this last song. It's a little different than everything you've heard so far. Enjoy.
Thank
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
Now we're
I-
gonna listen to the whole thing again.
now we're gonna listen to the whole thing. No,
yeah.
no. That I think that concludes the full album.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
it does.
now I'm gonna get hot box again.
But I just want to thank everybody that tuned in for the live stream. Thank you for checking it out. We had a lot of fun,
We sure did.
even though it was a bit distressing at first with the technical difficulties. It turned out to be for the better. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy you guys like the album, and I'll reach out to the 2 CD winners here again. We got Music Arts Things and Eric Casper. Congratulations on your free autograph CD of Rusted to Perfection.
Let 'em know how
This
they
is
can
only
purchase.
just the beginning of the promo cycle of this album too, so we've only just begun. I plan on doing a playthrough video, probably intensification.
Yeah, we're going to do some
Yeah.
playthrough videos, and I want to release some more animated images, videos like I did for Intensification. I got
Yes,
another one
sweet.
coming for Escaping Reality. I was hoping to launch this week, but just with everything going on
been
and busy,
hectic, yes.
yeah, it takes several hours to actually put one of them together. So
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
maybe next week, or maybe I'll finish it this week, and we'll see how it goes. But thank you, Derek. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Paul, for everything you guys have done.
Thanks for including me on the album.
Yeah, likewise.
I mean, that was a no-brainer.
thank you.
I'm gonna get a puff
Yeah.
here after I'm done chatting. So
Thank you
I
guys
thank you,
for
Sean.
joining, yeah.
My buddy Sean's behind the camera. He's been very nice in
Yes,
operating
He's
the.
taken a
Very,
huge
very patient.
relief off of
Yes,
what
yes.
it would have taken us
He's
to do
been very
this otherwise.
patient and
Yeah.
understanding.
Yes.
Glad I could help.
All right.
Hey.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess we'll call that a night.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you very
thanks
much.
for watching.
Yeah.
And
hanging out.
enjoy the album.